Hi, welcome to Real Estate Gumbo. I'm your host, Joe Meir. I'm a real estate appraiser serving the entire North Shore for over 20 years, and we have a special guest with us today. It's Steve Hayes, the current president of the Northshore Realtors Association, where we're going to talk about how all the impact of the COVID-19 crisis has changed things when it comes to buying and selling real estate. Stand by, pull up a chair, let's gather those ingredients for some real estate gumbo.
This is Real Estate Gumbo with Joe Meir. Joe's been appraising residential properties, vacant land, and multifamily homes on the North Shore for 27 years now and wants to share what he's learned with you. Learn the process from real estate trends through the appraisal to location. It's what you need to know before someone hands you a front door key. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, you've come to the right table. Pull up a chair. Let's get the roux going. Stir the pot. It's Real Estate Gumbo. Here's Joe Meir.
Well, welcome to today's podcast on Real Estate Gumbo. I've got a special guest with us today, Steve Hayes with Northshore Board of Realtors. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in today. One of the things that I want to do with our podcast is bring some education on different topics for realtors and for homeowners. Mm-hmm. And Neighbor's been a really good resource for that in our community. Especially over the last couple of years, we've really been engaging in the community and engaging with spreading education, not only for continuing education for agents, but also homeowners to understand what's the real estate process and how all that works. But how about let's start with just maybe sharing a little bit of information about yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm a transplant to Louisiana. I heard how great it was, so I got here as fast as I could. It just took 48 years. But I'm from Colorado originally, and I've been licensed in full-time in real estate since 1996. And had an office up there that I sold when I moved down here, and now I've got an office over in Covington. 2 daughters, one in Colorado and one in Port Angeles, Washington. And my beautiful wife Jennifer here that works with me. And that's about it. That's the quick version.
Hey, nothing wrong with a quick version, So that's great. And what company do you work with?
My company is Real Living Southern Home Professionals.
Great. And when did you begin your stint at the North Shore Board of Realtors office?
With North Shore Area Board, I think I got started just right after I landed here, so I must be there about 2.5 years now. I actually went to a broker council meeting in lieu of Jennifer going,
all right,
and had some ideas about how to improve member involvement, etc. And from that point, they wanted me on the board, and then it just went from there. And now I'm president.
Yeah, once you kind of get a little hook set there, they'll start reeling you in. Start reeling you in. And I've had the opportunity to work with Steve on the neighbor board, and he's definitely, you've done a really good job in bringing things and new ideas and stuff to the area. So can you give us a little background for those that don't know about the North Shore Area Board of Realtors?
You bet. The North Shore Area Board of Realtors services Tangipahoa, St. Tammany, and Washington parishes primarily. And we've got around 700 Realtor members and around 50 affiliate members. And what it is a professional standards organization. Just because you have a real estate license does not mean that you have to follow the ethics standards set forth until you join a professional realtor organization. And that's what North Shore Area Board is, which also falls under the Louisiana Realtor Association and the National Association of Realtors. So here locally, we provide continuing education for our realtor members. We also provide business development education. We do fundraising for the community, different things like Lynn Haven or Special Olympics.
Right.
And we also work with our affiliates to provide, like our awards gala for the Realtor members every year to celebrate them and their accomplishments.
Right. That's always a big event for recognizing some of the successes that some of the individual agents have had. And, with all the COVID-19 crisis this year,
They're looking forward to it.
Everybody's looking for an opportunity to celebrate. And that particular event, we had to NABOR had to put on postponing that event, so we're looking at having that event again. So, talking about the COVID-19 crisis, what are you hearing as far as from other realtors or homeowners on how this has impacted their way of shopping for homes, or what are you hearing in reference to that?
Boy, there's a lot. There's a lot right now. The use of virtual tours and 3D. It's just to use a term Matterport, they're a company, but to use that kind of rendering has increased online use by about 400%.
Wow!
Since the stay-at-home orders, I think it has changed how the consumer is thinking about real estate. The iBuyer programs shut down completely during this, and they're just now starting to get reopened. But I think that there's some different approaches being taken by the Realtors. One is that they're kind of setting how they're going to operate within the new precautions, etc. But then there's also, at my company, we actually use a customized approach to everything that we do. So each of our clients is setting the standard for how they want to interact in the real estate realm during their process and precautions. But ultimately, the seller's the one that writes the rules.
Right.
They dictate who comes in, when they come in, and how they come in.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So, for those that don't know what Matterport is, can you give us a Cliff Note version of how that works and what is Matterport?
Sure. Matterport is a series of 360-degree photographs that are taken, and then they're put together in literally a 3D model where the homeowner can enter in through the home and actually virtually walk through it and turn around and see everything.
Wow.
It's very cool. It's very cool. And that costs anywhere from $300 to a little over $500, depending on the size of the house.
Type of home.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Especially right now, if homeowners are out wanting to, have an interest in the house and they have that opportunity to have that type of a tour, they literally are almost like walking through the house.
Yeah, it's very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, again, it's amazing to see how our industry and profession is adapting as these different things come up, similar to what happened, after the different hurricanes and stuff. We're very quick to adapt in our area because we've lived through a lot of these different disasters and floods and all these different things, although this is something completely different.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different way of handling those things. But I think the public has been very patient in trying to understand how they can continue to shop for homes, or if they want to list their homes, how that's going to happen. So, one of the things that, we've been hearing as an appraiser is, people are interested in putting their homes up for sale and listing their homes. How are realtors continue to communicate with their clients and stay in touch with their clients?
Well, first I'll kind of back it up and say, through these events, it has, I believe, reinforced the need for a real estate professional, because people, they kind of, sometimes the consumer thinks, well, it's pretty easy to put a house on the market and get it sold. It is and it isn't. But they all seem to want the guidance, the wisdom, and the knowledge. Everybody has access to the internet and they can list their home, but the wisdom and the knowledge for how to actually do this, especially in this kind of environment, has really solidified what an agent's need is. And agents, the ones that really understand the business and get what it is that we do, have done a really good job of just staying in touch with their clients via personal notes or a FaceTime video or a phone call or something like that. And it's not about business. It really is just about the relationship. And,
right.
Hey, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do for you?
Yeah.
And those are the ones that understand what the real business is about, is the relationships. And they've done a really good job with that. I know I've seen some, they do pop buys where they drop off a little item of value And it would be, you know, where you would stand and have a couple minutes talk with your clients and
Right.
give them all like a box of cookies or something. And right now it's turned into a game of ding dong ditch. They ring the doorbell, they leave the gift, and they take off, and then they call and say, "You've been ding dong ditched."
Hey, you know, you got to do what you got to do. But, you know, again, these are all those things that people are adapting to try to figure out how to do these things.
Yeah.
You know,
Agents have been creating.
they really have been. It's really been it's really been cool to watch how that's happened. And agents, they're there. They're ready to help. You know, they're there to answer questions. If you've got questions, you know, reach out to your local real estate agent, realtor. If you don't have a realtor, you can call Northshore Area Board of Realtors. They'll be happy to refer you over to
a list
of companies that are members of that organization, and then you can choose, you know, who you'd like to reach out to and ask questions. So, what has been some of the things that have surprised you in the last 60 days in reference to real estate and such?
Yeah, in reference to real estate, I was thinking about that on the way over here, because there's been a couple of things that have really surprised me. The first one doesn't really have anything to do with real estate, but how much worse people's driving has gotten, because now all of a sudden stoplights and stop signs, when traffic was almost nothing, it almost seems like they've gotten to be optional now. I see so many people just run through them.
Straight through.
That has been very interesting. I think, you know, the other thing has been how polarizing the use of masks idea has been, and I don't know why it's been so polarizing, because in my view it's not about us, it's not about me, it's about the other person. And for us in our industry, it's about making our customer comfortable, and that their feelings about it are respected. Now, if they're 100% comfortable with no mask or whatever, then that's their choice. But if they want the comfort of it, you know, I think that's what we as real estate professionals need to address. But the polarization of the use of masks idea has really surprised me. I didn't think it was going to be such a big deal.
You know, I think again, it's just a lot of the uncertainty of what's going on and how all this interacts and how it works and everything. But, you know, we've got to be respectful of each other and respectful of our communities and such. So we'll figure all it out as we go along. You know.
Yep.
So, what are you seeing in the housing market? I mean, I've got my opinion of what's been happening in the data that I've been looking at. And
Right.
As appraisers, we look at data and analyze data in certain ways. And as realtors, you guys also analyze data in certain ways. What are you seeing?
Yeah, it's fun because I always compare how appraisers look at data and how agents look at data. You're looking primarily historically,
Right.
Not 100%, but primarily historically, and we're looking primarily futuristically. What are we going to get for this house in 60 days? And that's where I think the proof will be in the pudding, how we come out. But right now, the inventory is so low that there aren't a lot of homes to choose from. The vacant homes seem to be selling a lot easier and a lot faster right now because it's easier for access and people have a little more comfort with that. I think, 60 to 90 days down the road, we will ultimately see what happens. But one school of thought is that there's a lot of pent-up demand. People are ready to get back to what their lives are and what they need to get done.
Right.
Those that don't need to move may hold off a few more months, but those that need to, they're really ready to get back to it. And it's all going to depend on that inventory thing.
Yeah.
And then also the secondary mortgage market, because right now they're fluctuating rates on a scale to speed up the mortgage business by lowering the rates, and then when they have to slow it down because there's nobody to buy them on the secondary market on Wall Street, then they raise the rates to slow down that.
Right.
So as long as we can keep those rates in a good workable area, which I think they will.
Yeah.
I think that some agents should be prepared to do about 9 months of work in 6 months.
Right. Yeah, I was just looking at my watch. Today's May 11th.
Yeah.
And so, the rates have really been good. And, there's a number of people that are taking advantage just on the refinance side of it, and as appraisers talking about looking at the data, we've been seeing the same thing. And yes, there is a lot of uncertainty out there right now, but what we're seeing is just a lot of activity. The pending sales are up. The active listings are up. The number of sold homes are up. But the lack of inventory is really having, a tremendous impact. And I think we're going to see more of that until our economy starts opening up. And of course, all this hinges on unemployment or employment, people getting back to their jobs. So it's going to be interesting to watch this play out, because I mean, in my opinion, I think we were headed to probably the best spring selling season since probably 2014. Would you agree?
Oh, I agree. And that's one of the novel aspects of where we were at, is that the market was super strong going into this. If we were already having financial problems, economic problems going into it, this would have just killed it. But the fact that we went in so strong and the rates are staying good, I think even when the unemployment numbers start coming back down, which they will soon, we were at historic lows. It's going to take a while to get back to that.
Yes.
But I think that we are going to see some good activity. Now, again, it's going to be 20% of the agents that do 80% of the volume, right. And those that have done a good job of staying in touch and done a good job of staying on top of their business and making plans, they will do very well. The blind squirrels that find an acorn, it's going to be an interesting year for those.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to pass on, your 2 top tips for realtors in this current market and in the next 30 to 60 days, what would be your 2 top tips?
Watch your budget. And that's kind of a loaded topic with agents, because they need to have a budget. First, but yeah, you need to watch your spending, and the spending that you do needs to be focused on relationships, not so much as focused on, hey, you want to sell your house.
Right. That makes sense. And what would you say would be your top 2 tips for homeowners that are thinking about selling?
Number 1, get a good realtor. Absolutely. And then make a decision about how concerned you are about the COVID infection. How concerned are you about your home being a place where it gets transmitted, right, or transmitted to you? And you need to have a very open conversation with your agent about that. The agent should not be writing the rules on that and tell the customer how, what they're going to implement. The seller should say, this is what I want implemented.
Right.
But now is a good time to sell. It really is. The buyers that are out looking are solid buyers.
Yeah.
They're ready to go.
One of the things I've definitely noticed is the low inventory on existing homes. I mean, we've got builders that are out there, building as quickly as they can. The building industry, again, they were set to be probably the busiest spring building season also. But the existing home market is really the inventory that's really low right now. So it's really considered a seller's market. So what about the people that's thinking about selling? Remember, 3. Remember about the people that are thinking about selling. These great tips that Steve has shared. Utilize that information and make some good decisions when you're out considering putting your home on the market. What about buyers?
Buyers, right now, I think buyers that are serious need to be very focused on what is important to them. I'm starting to hear some reports of multiple offers. I know one listing in particular that had 10 in the first 24 hours. That's the most I've heard recently. But I know we had some buyers in our office that were going to end up going against another 1 or 2 on a property, and they opted not to. So you need to have your values and your goals really in order and make a good decision about how you want to proceed in those kinds of situations. You can still get a good value on a home. It's not that you're necessarily going to be overpaying for it, but you need to have a good solid sense of how you're going to approach that situation if you get into it.
Right. That's great. So I would say, first of all, get pre-approved.
Absolutely.
Get pre-approved. Select a good realtor that can help you through the buying process. And then, begin that shopping, whether it's online, virtual tours, or actually making the appointments to go physically see homes that people are allowing people to come in to do the home visits. Great. So Neighbor is in full operation?
Neighbor is in full operation, but remotely.
Right.
Yes.
So
They're not open to the public per se, which public doesn't normally come in much. Public meaning our agent membership.
Right.
And even they don't come into the office very often. But yes, we've been getting a good number of new members actually during this stay at home. Those are all getting processed. Everything is moving forward. So it's been business as usual, just remotely.
Yeah. What would you say? What are some reasons realtors should consider joining Neighbor? And I say Neighbor, that's Northshore Area Board of Realtors.
Yeah, the Northshore Area Board of Realtors. It's a strong association. We've got great leadership in place. Obviously, you're a director as well. We've got a great set of board of directors. The Northshore Area Board of Realtors is really focused on the lifestyle and the communities on the North Shore. And we give back to the North Shore. We live on the North Shore. We work on the North Shore. And it's really about the culture of the North Shore. We're not being influenced by a culture from a different area, into our board this way. So we have a good, strong continuing education program.
Oh, yeah.
Even during the stay-at-home order, we implemented online CE, which we'd never done before because everything had been free and we'd done it in person.
Right.
And that's a great business model, but we had to do some different things. So we've implemented a low-cost online education program, and actually our board of directors has been meeting as usual. We've been doing that virtually. It's a small, very maneuverable board which can make decisions and improvements for their members quickly.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of serving on that board with you, and it's been a joy to really see the involvement of passion for our community and for the profession. So, if you are a real estate agent that is looking to join a board, I would encourage you to consider Neighbor and become a member. So, talking about housing data for St. Tammany and Tangipahoa Parish and Washington Parish also, one of the things that, as an appraiser, we can always analyzing data. It's been pretty consistent. It's been really consistent. St. Tammany Parish has the number of active listings were declining a little bit, and then they bumped back up in March. And of course, all these things happen in March and towards the end of March. So we had a little bit of a bump there, but we kind of got back to the consistent level we were before. The number of sold properties, same thing. Tangipahoa Parish was. We've actually had a declining number of active listings since August of 19. It's been slowly declining, but it's truly because of the lack of inventory. So all those different things, again, is impacting the housing market. But I think, as we begin to open up our state in the next, hopefully the next 30 days here, and people are going back to work and those employment numbers come down, I feel like we can bounce out of this.
I think so, and the market was showing signs of it before, before we're even getting fully operational again. The showings at their lowest had dropped by about 94% from the same time last year. Right. So it was, just dumped as soon as, the stay-at-home hit. And then it was right after Easter or right at Easter, mm-hmm. I think, the showing number started climbing right now, and we're only off by about 15 or 20% right now from this time last year as far as the number of showings go. Now that's not just North Shore. I can't take that data out for just North Shore, but right. That's the metro area that we service. And but nonetheless, the buyers were showing pretty good resiliency. The number of new listings was outpacing the number of withdrawn listings, yeah. Which was good. I think our inventory would be in really pretty good shape if the withdrawals had stayed on the market, but those are personal reasons for the seller that they decide not to.
Right.
And then the odd thing was the number of price reductions that I saw during the stay-at-home, because a price reduction really was not addressing the real issue.
Right.
It really wasn't, in my opinion only. It would have been a time to hold steady. Mm-hmm. And or withdraw temporarily for maybe 30 days. But even then, if it was a buyer out, they were serious. And so it was odd to see those price reductions because they were not really going to affect a change.
Right, but I didn't see many price reductions considering what was going on.
Considering,
what was going on. You would think, man, people, but there was really no panic that I really noticed. There was no panic in the market. Everybody was like, okay, we see what's going on. It's a nationwide thing. It's not just here.
Yeah, it was just more than I had expected.
Yeah.
But it was not a panic. No,
Right. Well, that's great. Steve, I really appreciate you coming by and chatting it up a little bit. And, we're going to continue these podcasts. And if you've got questions that you have about real estate, buying, selling, the appraisal process, any of those things, this is definitely a resource that you can send your questions in. And, if we don't know the answers, we'll find the answers. And we'll have a discussion about all those different topics. So, so before we close out today, just a quick question. If you could do one thing on your bucket list this week, Steve, what would that be?
One thing on my bucket list this week, now barring the situation,
yes,
I would have loved to have gone and see my kids.
There you go.
And that's on my bucket list all the time because I miss them. But I'd go see that. If it wasn't that, I'd say I would have loved to have gone to Alaska. Actually,
nice. Yeah, I've never been to Alaska.
No, me either, and it is on the list.
Right. We were supposed to be in Italy right now, but things happen, right?
Things happen.
So we'll figure that out at a later time.
Sure.
Well,
that's French.
No, that's right.
Oh,
well, listen. Thank you for coming by today, and we'll just say arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Right? That's right.
There
We're going to say
go.
goodbye. We'll see you next time, and thank you for watching Real Estate Gumbo.
You've been listening to Real Estate Gumbo with your host, Joe Meir. Thanks for sharing this bowl of great Southern fare we call real estate. Tune in next time as we spice it up with topics that'll help you make a delicious real estate deal in the future. Remember that Real Estate Gumbo can be found online at larealestategumbo.com. If you'd like to contact our host, visit joemeir.com. See you next week. Thanks for listening.
Real Estate Gumbo is providing this podcast as a public service, but it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of housing policy. While we often discuss current events and cite sources that are both conventional and unconventional media sources, these are opinions. While I always strive for accuracy, I can and will be wrong at times, as any honest human will have to admit to. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Joseph Meir & Associates. Views and expressions by Real Estate Gumbo and Joseph Meir & Associates are only their views and should not be used for any financial decisions.